Hi again, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm, and today I want to talk about Alfalfa Tea, which is a topic about how to fertilize, particularly your roses, but some people swear by this concoction for everything. Now, the basic recipe is very, very simple. It's a gallon of water to 1 cup of alfalfa, in this case alfalfa pellets. You can use alfalfa meal as well, but alfalfa meal, when I found it in the store, it's a little more expensive. The pellets work just as well. They just take a little bit longer to break down in the water. Now, in my garden, I actually prefer to apply the alfalfa pellets directly to the ground at the base of the plant. And I'll tell you why I think that's an even better solution. But first, let's go through the alternate point of view and talk about this tea. So as I say, the basic recipe is 1 cup of alfalfa to 1 gallon of water, and you let it sit for as little as a day, but even up to 3 or 4 days. And what you'll sometimes see there is a little bit of fermentation start to initiate in the alfalfa. Some people use this opportunity to add some additional ingredients. I've seen such things as Epsom salts, of course, because people add Epsom salts to everything, sometimes unwisely. I see people add molasses, kelp, bat guano. I've heard of coffee grounds going into this concoction. And what the theory is that all of those things fermenting together will become biologically active and will confer additional benefits when you put them into the garden. I've even seen people go as far as adding an oxygenation step, a bubbler, to make this even more supercharged. At least that's what they say. So where the science sits on that is that the alfalfa tea actually has no additional benefit over the base alfalfa. So, and when they talk about the science behind the aerated compost mixes, it's the evidence is even weaker. I'm going to link some articles down below the video here so you can see what I'm talking about there. But really, all the benefits that people are talking about disease suppression and feeding your plants and additional root growth, they don't really materialize in comparison to fertilizing either directly with alfalfa or with other fertilizers. Now let me show you in the garden how you would apply this and how I apply just the pellets and what the difference is. Once the liquid had time to set and the alfalfa has fully dissolved into the water, you can pour it off through a metal strainer like this. And like I say, usually that step, the recipes call for either 1 day or even up to 3 or 4 days to start some fermentation. The alfalfa solids will begin to jam up your strainer a little bit, so you may have to work it through a little bit with your hands just to get the clear liquid so that you're not bringing the alfalfa residue with it. And this is what you end up with. Kind of a green, grassy smelling liquid that you can apply directly to your plants. And now that you have the liquid extracted, you can apply this generously directly to the base of your plants. But before I do that, I want to give you a caution about those people who see the recipes and think, well, I can add my fish fertilizer at the same time, I can add some Epsom salts because everybody adds Epsom salts, you can add some molasses, you can throw in a whole bunch of stuff, and that will make your roses supercharged. And it's one of the things I love about gardeners is that we're all kind of mad scientists at heart. But the thing you have to remember is that when it comes to fertilizer, more is not necessarily better. The alfalfa itself is an equivalent of about a 2-1-2 if you were looking at the NPK, or a 3-1-2 depending on which sources you listen to. If you add fish fertilizer, if you add bat guano, if you add a whole bunch of other stuff, you're successively adding more and more salt to that liquid solution. And if you put that onto the roots of your plants, it can become stressful. Even if it's organic, and organics are a little more safe than, say, a chemical fertilizer, but an overdose of it will harm your plants just as easily. So for my money, I would just apply the alfalfa straight. If you want to throw in a little bit of bat guano or something else, just as an experiment, just proceed with caution because, as I say, more isn't always better. This is an elbow rose, Konigund von Denmark, which is just coming into bloom now in the garden, along with many of my other roses. And I want to show you the alfalfa that I applied to the base of this just a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just going to scoop up a handful around the base here so you can see that these pieces of alfalfa have broken down fairly quickly, and they integrate into the surrounding mulch and soil very, very easily. But they do it slowly, and this happens over the course of 2 to 3 weeks. It breaks up into this, and then eventually, as it breaks down further, becomes just about indistinguishable from the rest of the soil and mulch. Now, it didn't cause any problem with pests, and what I find is after I apply this, I very quickly after that apply some water. It starts to get wet and mushy and expand like this, and then fall apart, and so I don't get any kind of attention from the local rodents or rabbits or any other pest population around here. And then I get the full benefit. As this breaks down, the organic matter works its way down into the soil and helps to improve the condition of the top layers of the soil as it does its job. Finally here, I'd like to wrap up by just discussing briefly why I prefer adding the alfalfa directly rather than making that compost tea. Now, the main reason is for hassle. I find it easier to just take a scoop, 1 cup of alfalfa, and drop it at the base of each rose and gently rake it across the top of the soil, watering it in, or letting the rain do that for me. Having to put it into a bucket, turn it into a tea, strain it, ferment it, any of that stuff is more effort than I want to put into fertilizing my plants. Second thing is I don't mind the extra stuff that comes with it, that the fiber that goes with that alfalfa and sits on the base of the plant becomes part of the mulch. It adds the full benefit. I'm under no worry that I'm throwing away some of my nutrients at the end of this. It's all getting incorporated. It's getting incorporated slowly to the base of the plant. And finally, I'll say that I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by all of the magical claims of the alfalfa tea people, the people who say that if you ferment it, if you put some oxygen in it, the science just isn't there to show the benefits of that over top of just a basic application of alfalfa or general fertilizer. So it doesn't seem to me to make a lot of sense. Now, if you are a person who is gardening, say, in containers on your back deck, and you want to make an alfalfa tea, that's how you do it, and then you won't end up with that green mush at the top of your plants, and maybe for you that kind of cosmetic consideration will make a difference if you're growing in containers. But out in the garden, I don't see it as a concern, and so I like the alfalfa directly to the base of the plant. All right, thanks so much for watching. That's all I have to say about alfalfa, although if you nudge me in the comments, I might find something else I can think of that I should have added to the topic. And thanks again so much for watching.